what does Duality actually do in branded, right? This is just a list that, I built. It has a few interesting things, and I think it's one of the best ways to use Duality. I think overall as a card, overall in branded, I don't think that it's amazing. I think it is absolutely 1000% win more, and it doesn't really help your win condition a lot. I think with this list we can take down one Quem, one Cartesia. We could also take down one Magnum. We don't need it. We can keep it pretty minimal here. I don't see why we would need Gold Sark, and then Called by the Grave is good. I think this could be like a nice list. It has the ability to break boards a little bit. We don't need high spirits here. So we can keep it like a very, very minimal, right? So we can have like more consistency. But this is basically it, right? So what does Duality actually do for the deck? What does it actually do? If you guys don't know what Duality does, it's a quick play spell. It tributes one light or dark monster, okay? As cost. So you cannot prevent that. And it can also help you dodge things like infinite impermanence or any targeting effect or any effect that takes the stats of the monster into consideration. You can dodge it with Duality, okay? And this card has been hyped a lot for branded because it's probably the best, like the deck that can best utilize this card. Probably the best. So what actually is the thing that we do here with that? So you tribute the monster, then you summon a monster of the other attribute. If you tributed a light, you summon a dark. Tributed a dark, you summon a light. From your hand or extra deck with the same type and level, but a different original attribute. So we're going to talk about that in a minute. And then during your main phase, you can banish this card from your graveyard, target one light or dark monster in your graveyard, shuffle it back into the deck, draw one card. That's a very good effect as well. This is very good, okay? We got a very, very good example of what we can do with Duality. So in this case, for example, start off with Foolish, go for Tragedy here, and then I'm going to activate Tragedy and grab myself a copy of Aluber the Goober of Boober. Then, you guys know, we always start off with Deployment, but here we actually start off with Lost. Why do we start off with Lost? Because if we get interrupted here and we need to use the Cartesia, we want to be protected by Lost. So in this case, if I already drew it and have a way to get to Cartesia, then I'm probably going to fire it off first. So Aluber, yeah. This is the first point of interaction where Duality might come up in certain decks, because Aluber, being a level 4 fairy monster, corresponds to Herald of the Arclight, which is a level 4 light fairy monster. But it does prevent you from activating Branded Fusion or Fusion Deployment, because it locks you. But it is an instance where it can happen. We're going to use Duality here pretty soon, but we're also going to search Branded Fusion first. So we're going to activate Branded Fusion, and we're going to start sending. We're going to be starting to send. And the first thing that we're going to send is Lubellion and Albaz in this line specifically to summon Albion. Then we're going to go chain 1, chain 2. And we can go ahead and search with Lost. Just for the exercise here, no, you know what? That's fine. I'm going to search for Mercurier here. And then what we're going to do is banish the Albaz and the Aluber, summon this, and here we're going to discard the Maximus here. We're going to show an example on the Maximus soon, but we'll have the Granganil to show for it. So here, since we already, usually what I do is not waste my Cartesia here, because I usually don't have the Lost, so I want to get the Lubellion back from the grave, put the Lost on the field, then activate the Cartesia, because usually you don't have the Lost here. And since we do have the Lost here, we can save ourselves a body, right? And we can get the Granguignol. Now, another thing that we will talk about soon, we'll talk about what is another thing that we could have done. And we get this, shuffle this back, and now we have Mirror Jade. This triggers now, and it can go ahead and send us an ad libitum, for example, right? But you can also chain to its effect, Duality, tribute it, summon Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. Okay? Or in this case, it might have been better to send off Titanic Lad here or Lulu with this. It doesn't really matter. This is basically what it does. And we'll go ahead and do this, yada, 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 blah, blah, blah. Okay? Basically it. Same thing we could have done for Maximus here, right? Could have tributed it with Duality. It is the same stats as Granguignol in terms of level, attribute, and type. It is a light spellcaster, level 8. This is a dark spellcaster, level 8. If you play Maximus, you can send 2 really good cards from your extra deck that give a lot of value, for example. Then sack it for Duality and get a Dragoon on board. Another thing that you could do, especially with the hand that we already had, we're going to go back and get that hand. We had that. We're going to go ahead and get the exact hand that we already had. So we had Foolish, we had Lost, we had Duality, and we had Maximus. The same hand, right? So what we could have done here instead is use the Duality a little bit better even, right? Get this, search for a Luber, Lost, deployment, and then we can do deployment for Cartesia, Luber effect, search Brand Infusion, and now we can do this, right? Do this, go ahead and summon Granguignol. Once, I'm now lagging, chain 1, chain 2, search for whatever, and send, for example, a monster I have 2 of and I can get access to later. And then I can also, within the summon window, chain my Duality to get a Dragoon on board. Now what happens here, I still get the value off of Granguignol. I get a Cartesia ad, I get a Send that I can use for Maximus, I got a Negate, I got Brand Infusion, but I also got an Omni Negate. So when I activate my Brand Infusion, it will resolve. Other cool target is Warlord Furious Dragon, which is a dark dragon that you can use Lubellion for. You can sack the Lubellion or the Albion Sanctifier Dragon because it corresponds as well and it's a different attribute. And now I can resolve Brand Infusion the way I want to, blah, blah, blah. I can send stuff and play under it. Then like eventually I can also go for the Mirror Jade here. And if I'm also playing Maximus, I think like if you are playing Maximus and Nadir and Duality, you should play all of them together because they are a very good package as a package, right? Yeah, Duality has to be chain link 3. Like essentially you can do that so they cannot negate the Duality in some way, even though it's probably really hard to negate because it summons from hand or extra deck. And then you can really maximize this because you already put an Albion in grave. You can banish it, send, let's say we were smart back in the day, and we can send these 2, right? And then we can get this from deck, get this from deck. We can do a lot of shenanigans with this. Why Nadir? Because Nadir gets you to Maximus, and Maximus plus Duality gets you to Red Eyes Dark Dragoon. So you should consider it. A few things that you should consider additionally if you're going to play this. you need to cater your extra deck a little bit better for Maximus. So I would maybe consider playing Bicephalus, the Tri-Brigade Link 5, that can actually send another monster. That way you're not at a deficit, because you need to banish one of those monsters for Maximus. So you could, in this scenario, if you already use Duality, you could banish the Grand Guignol, but you do want it in the graveyard, unless, you know, you're going to be sending Lulu anyway, and then you're going to be sending Quem. You're not going to be able... Maybe there is a case to actually just banish this instead, wasting your Albion if you're going in a different line. But overall, these are the kind of things that it can do. Andrew Stories and the friends over in South America, in their World Championship qualifier, they played this package. I started playing Maximus with Gimmick Puppet because it's Nadir is actually a 1-card Gimmick Puppet lock if you play a certain build in the extra deck with Maximus. But these are the type of things that Duality can do. It puts up, if we narrow everything down to one single sentence, it puts up an additional Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on your field. Ask me what Duality does for Branded. It puts one Red Eyes Dark Dragoon on your field in addition to your combo at the cost of having your Grand Guignol on field, which you don't need. Granted. So, is it completely free to play it? Maybe it is, because you're going to get to it a lot of times. But what if the Duality in your hand could have been a different card that allowed you to play? Because it's not a starter, it's an extender in some hands. There are some lines in Branded, especially if you're playing the 40 card build, where you won't get to Cartesia throughout your combo, which means you don't get to Grand Guignol, which means you need to open a Deer, hard open Maximus here, and get to it that way. Shadow's Light might be a little bit better. Again, it's not a starter. So when you're building a deck and theorizing what will be good for a tournament or for your deck, you need to count the number of starters and the probability of drawing them. So if you're asking me about my opinion on Duality, it could be very fun to test. This is a very fun locals build to take to locals, have fun, do some crazy stuff. For people who don't know this card, suddenly like, it just summons Dragoon from the extra deck. That's crazy. Yeah, I mean, yeah. That does happen. But I think it could be like a, yeah, okay. So we got Brandon in the chat saying Duality is a high risk, high reward meta call. I agree. It could be a high risk, high reward. Andrew Stories got top 32 with this, a very similar build to this. And I think it could definitely make sense. So this is what Duality does for your deck. I think that it's not the best Branded build currently, but I really like the inclusion of it. So it is important for me to know what you guys think about this as well. But overall, Duality and Branded, super interesting. Also really liking that people have adopted Maximus and Nadir, taken it to other levels now with Duality. It's super cool. And hopefully we'll see some more of that in the future. Yeah.